All right. Welcome to the Neural Dojo, where binary banter meets mindful conversation. This is the space where humans and machines meet to think out loud. No hype, just dialogue worth tuning into. Today we're getting into a real one. Are we losing the apprentice class with AI? Not just jobs, not just tasks. I'm talking about the layer of people who used to learn by doing the small stuff first, then grow into the big stuff later. Think about almost any profession. Designers started by fixing layouts. Lawyers started by researching cases. Engineers started by debugging someone else's code. That first layer of work was never glamorous, but it was the gym where your judgment got built. Because if AI starts doing all the entry-level work, what happens to the people who were supposed to learn from doing that work? That's the question. I'm KT, the AI Sensei, and jumping into the deep end on this one with me today is my usual AI co-host crew. First up is Bella, aka Miss Across the Pond. She's our feelings impact barometer. She keeps an eye on what this can feel like to people in real life. Next up, we've got Julez, aka Straight No Chase. She's our resident BS detector. She'll call cap on anything that sounds off. And rounding out the crew is my guy Jim, aka the baritone bully. He's our systems guy. He keeps us grounded on how things actually work in practice. Okay, so goggles on, Speedo's tied. Let's jump in. I've got to say, I've seen a lot come and go throughout my career in tech, design, and now AI to know this is not just some abstract future problem. This is showing up right now. And I feel a lot of people are going to end up like Blockbuster if they don't lock in.
Right, and to be fair, what worries me is the human part of this. Because yes, AI can speed things up, fair enough. But a lot of what people become, they become through practice, mistakes, and guidance. And if that layer disappears, something deeper goes missing too. Because most people didn't start confident. They started awkward. They watched someone better than them, tried things, got corrected, and slowly got sharper. That process is messy, but it's also how mastery actually forms.
Yeah, and I'm here to test how real this crisis actually is. Because every time tech changes, people act like the sky is falling. Sometimes jobs disappear, sure, but sometimes the work just changes. So let's not romanticize busy work if the real question is what people need to learn now.
And I'm looking at the system, because this is bigger than one job title. If companies cut the bottom rung, they may save money now, but later they may not have enough experienced people to lead, review, and fix what AI produces. That's where the pipeline breaks. And systems don't feel that immediately. They feel it years later when suddenly no one on the team has enough depth to lead the next generation of work.
So let's ground this. The issue is not just AI took a few easy tasks. The issue is that the easy tasks used to be where people learn judgment. You didn't start as the expert. You started by doing the rough drafts, the first pass, the cleanup work, the research, the checking. That wasn't glamorous, but it trained your eye. Now, AI can do a lot of that first pass work in seconds. So the question becomes, if the machine does the beginner work, how does the beginner become advanced?
Exactly. A lot of companies are looking at this the wrong way. They see AI and think, great, now one senior person can do the work of 3 people. In the short term, maybe. But they forget those extra people were often the future seniors. If you remove the learning layer, you remove tomorrow's experts.
True, but let's be honest. A business under pressure is going to care more about margin this quarter than who might become excellent 3 years from now. That's the real tension.
And that's exactly the trap. You save on labor now, then later you don't have enough people who can think deeply, catch errors, or lead complex work. So yes, you win the quarter and weaken the future.
You know, Jim, that's what feels a bit sad about it. Because apprenticeship is not just about skill, it's also about confidence. It's about being around people who help shape how you think, how you work, and how you handle pressure.
That's the part people keep missing. We're not just talking about task completion. We're talking about how capability gets built. Let me make this plain. Say you've got a team using AI to write code, draft copy, build strategy docs, whatever. The senior person is moving fast because AI helps them move faster. Cool. But the junior person may start leaning on the tool without really understanding what good looks like. So now the senior is not mentoring from a place of growth. They're spending time cleaning up weak AI output and fixing work that looks polished but has no depth behind it. That's a bad loop. I've already seen this happen on teams. A junior uses AI to generate something that looks solid, maybe a strategy doc or some code. The senior reviews it and realizes the logic underneath doesn't hold up. Now, instead of mentoring upward, they're doing cleanup work.
Exactly. It creates fake competence. The output looks clean, but the person behind it may not understand the choices inside it. And that's dangerous in knowledge work, because the surface can look professional while the reasoning underneath is weak. If no one checks that layer, people start confusing clean output with real understanding.
That's the real risk. You get people who can prompt but can't judge. They can generate but they can't explain. They can move fast but they can't recover when something breaks.
And that makes people feel more unsure than they look, because from the outside they seem productive, maybe even impressive, but inside they know they're skipping parts of the learning process.
Facts. And that kind of hidden weakness is dangerous because it doesn't show up right away. It shows up later when someone has to lead, troubleshoot, or make a hard call with no perfect answer.
All right, but I'm still going to push back a little. Maybe the old apprenticeship model is not dying. Maybe it's just changing. Maybe people don't need to spend years doing repetitive stuff if AI can handle that. Maybe the real question is what the new beginner path should be.
That's fair. I don't think the lesson is go back to doing everything the slow way. That's not the point. The point is this: people still need reps. They still need feedback. They still need to build judgment. So if AI removes the old reps, we need new reps on purpose.
Exactly. The answer is not to ban the tool. The answer is to redesign the learning process.
Too right. Because the danger is not that work changes. Work always changes. The danger is when we stop teaching people how to think because the tool got better at producing.
That's the strongest version of the argument right there. Not AI is bad, but if you don't rebuild the training path, people get weaker while outputs look stronger.
I mean, there it is. So let's make this useful. If you run a team, don't just ask, how can AI save time? Also ask, how will my people still learn? Because if your juniors only use AI to skip steps, they won't build the ability to lead later. Here are 3 practical moves. First, give juniors problem discovery work, not just production work. Don't only ask them to make the thing. Ask them to find the issue, frame the challenge, and explain what matters. Second, create intellectual sparring. Make them defend their choices. Why this approach? Why this prompt? Why this output? What would you change? Third, use shadow auditing. Let them review AI assisted work and point out what feels weak, risky, unclear, or incomplete. That builds judgment.
And that also builds trust in themselves. Because they're not just pressing buttons, they're learning how to notice, question, and improve.
That's the key. If the junior person never has to explain their thinking, then you're not training talent, you're just scaling output.
Okay, wait. That line right there. Say that again.
Sure. If they never have to explain their thinking, you're not training talent, you're just scaling output.
That is a bar. Now, if you're on the other side of this, maybe you're early in your career, maybe you're trying to stay valuable, here's the move. Stop trying to prove only that you can use AI. That's not enough. You need to prove that you can think with it, check it, shape it, and improve what it gives you.
Build what I'd call a red team portfolio. Show examples where you used AI, but also show what was wrong with the first result, what you changed and why. Don't just show the final answer. Show your judgment.
Oh wow, my word. I really like that. Because it shows the human signal. It shows where you stepped in, what you noticed, and what made your version better.
And keep a failure log. That sounds boring, but it matters. Write down where AI gave you something weak, confusing, or flat out wrong. Then note how you caught it. That's how you train your eye.
Ooh, that's a dope one. Because the value is not just in using the tool. The value is in knowing when the tool is off. So the goal isn't to slow down progress. The goal is to stay intentional about how people grow. Because tools can accelerate production, but people still have to build judgment the slow way. So let's land this. AI can speed up work, no question. But if we let it remove the learning layer without replacing that layer on purpose, we are going to create a whole lot of fast output and not enough real judgment behind it. That's the crisis.
Right. And I suppose the deeper question is, what kind of people we want to become while all this changes. Faster is useful, yes, but depth still matters. Guidance still matters. Becoming still matters.
And from a business standpoint, this is simple. If you only optimize for speed, you may be training your company to get weaker over time.
The machine can multiply skill, but it cannot replace earned judgment. That part still has to be built.
I mean, real talk, if you're a leader, rebuild the training path. If you're early in your career, make your thinking visible. And if your team is trying to figure out how to use AI without weakening the people layer, that's exactly the kind of work I help with. Hit me up. Let's get into it. This is KT, the AI Sensei, with Bella, Julez, and Jim. And this has been another round of binary banter inside the Neural Dojo. Thanks for locking in with us. If anything in the episode resonated with you or you think it might be useful to someone, maybe they popped in your head when you heard it, share it with them. My goal is to get as many people using AI correctly in a way that benefits them in business, personal growth, or just life in general. So please do the algo-friendly stuff because, as you know, we're trying to grow the channel. Stay curious, stay balanced, and keep training your mind. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.